political powers. You know, I mean, they weren't separated. But yet, through all this, through chapter 20, the miraculous thing about chapter 20 is God preserved the seed.
Right.
And the miraculous thing through the history of the nation of Israel is that God preserved the seed, and Jesus came. That, I believe, is what, and you know, there's probably more, but I believe that's what God's trying to show us through chapter 20. There's more than just, hey, you're not supposed to tell half truths. And there usually is. There's usually when you study the Bible, there's usually a primary application. But
it also shows in restoring.
There's a secondary and a tertiary. It just goes deeper and deep. You can read a surface level application, and then you can go a little deeper and get a little deeper, and it just keeps getting deeper and deeper. And that's what I believe God's trying to show us through chapter 20, is that it's an absolute miracle that Isaac was ever born. And it was an absolute miracle that Jesus was ever born. Now, let's take a few minutes and look at chapter 21. Again, there's several ways you can look at scriptures, but I want to show you, I want to talk to you in one respect. Look at chapter 21. The Lord visited Sarah as he said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. And Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born to him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac, being 8 days old, as God had commanded him. So Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. And Sarah said, God has made me to laugh, so that all that hear will laugh with me. And she said, who would have said unto Abraham that Sarah should have given children suck, for I have borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same day Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, which she had borne to Abraham, mocking. Wherefore she said to Abraham, cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac. Now, Isaac and Ishmael still having problems today. Still fighting. Right?
Yeah.
Isaac and Ishmael, they're always constantly fighting. Now, what would Isaac and Ishmael typify?
You mean today?
Yeah.
Israel and the Arab nations?
Right, but it's in a spiritual sense.
Oh.
Ishmael was born after the what? Flesh. Isaac was born after the spirit.
The spirit and the flesh.
Ishmael was the son of flesh. Isaac was the son of promise. Now, as long as Isaac was never born, everything was fine. No battle, no strife, no problem. But as soon as Isaac was born, now we got a problem. But I want you to see something specifically in verse 8. When did the real problem begin?
When he was weaned.
When he was weaned. What does it mean to be weaned?
Born again.
No.
No.
Off of milk.
To be weaned means you start taking solid food. You're no
Right.
longer nursing as your regular diet, but you're eating solid food.
Okay.
So when Isaac was weaned, what happened? What did Abraham do for him?
Great feast.
He made a great feast. We've talked about milk and the meat in this class. And what we're trying to do in this class is we're trying to get off the milk, right?
We're
and get
weaning.
on to the meat.
Yeah.
And I know some of you have given testimony. What's God doing for some of us that are really being weaned?
Mm.
He's created a huge feast. And there's so much food in front of us that we don't even know what to do. We're overwhelmed at the amount of food that's on the table. That's what happens when you're weaned.
And we just started.
And we just started. So when Isaac was weaned, Abraham prepared this great feast. When we finally get off the milk and start partaking of the solid food, in Hebrew, we don't have time. Hebrews chapter 6, what is the solid food? It has to do with the Melchizedek priesthood. It has to do with the time when Jesus Christ returns as the great king priest, blessing the descendants of Abraham, both heavenly and earthly.
Mm.
Doesn't have any, and in fact, he says, you need to move on from the principles. The principles, we talked about the principles in Hebrews chapter 6. That's the stuff that we're studying week after week after week.
Mm-hmm.
We need to move on past that and get on to the solid food. So that's the solid food. That's what we're doing in this class. And when we're weaned, God's going to prepare this great feast. But that's when the trouble starts.
Mm-hmm.
Look at verse 9. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, which she had borne to Abraham, mocking.
Mm.
As you grow in Christ, as you get off the milk and go to the meat, your flesh is going to have a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Your flesh is going to say no. No. That's when the real battle between you and your flesh begins. Because you're starting to learn the difference between your spirit and your soul, this flesh and the spirit. And you're starting to learn how important it is to live by the spirit, and the flesh is being, and the flesh don't like that.
No.
Look what Sarah says. She said to Abraham, cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac.
Mm.
Our flesh has got to be cast out, because our flesh will not inherit. Our flesh cannot be heir with our spirit.
Right.
And if we're not careful, our flesh is going to keep our spirit from being an heir.
Mm.
But I want to bring another application to this, and we'll be through. If you want to look at it like this, not only is Isaac and Ishmael a picture of our spirit and our flesh at battle against each other, but it's also a picture of spiritual Christians and carnal Christians. They're not going to get along either.
Mm.
We talked about this Thursday night at our house.
Mm-hmm.
When you get off the milk and start eating this solid food, and God prepares this feast, and you're just celebrating your growth in, Abraham was celebrating his son. My boy's growing up. And that's what God does for us when we get off the milk and start growing and partaking of the solid food. God prepares this feast for us. But then these carnal Christians, they're going to be looking, and what are they going to be doing? They're going to be mocking.
Mocking.
They aren't going to like it.
Mm-mm.
They aren't going to like. They're not going to. They don't like seeing the feast that you're enjoying, because they're not enjoying it. God didn't. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Get ready. The closer you get to God, the more trouble's going to come.
The more sensitive you become to the spirit within you.
We have a tendency today, if we looked at two Christians and one of them was really suffering, maybe financially, maybe physically, if one Christian was really suffering whereas the other Christian looked like they were just blessed beyond degree, what would we in our natural minds think of the two Christians?
You'd think the one that's being blessed is the one being all...
The one that's being blessed is the one that's living in God's will and following God, and And the one that's going through all these